In the year 2574, humanity had taken its first steps onto the intergalactic stage. Earth, now a thriving hub in the galaxy, had mastered space travel, terraforming, and even diplomacy with a few other species. But there was one thing they hadn't done yet. They hadn't encountered a truly advanced, dominant galactic empire. The rumors of such an empire, however, had spread like wildfire. It was a dark and stormy night on Earth when the first message came through. A signal, faint but clear, reverberated across the human network. Galactic Empire, prepare to face the might of our conquest. The transmission was distant, but its message was loud and clear. At first, humanity was shocked. The Galactic Empire. It was a name spoken of only in whispers. A powerful force that had conquered entire star systems, ruling over millions of alien species with an iron fist. They were supposed to be the epitome of might, and they had set their eyes on Earth. The leaders of Earth gathered immediately. Councils were called, defense protocols were activated, and diplomats were prepared. Human history was full of wars, but this was no ordinary foe. The Empire was said to have ships the size of planets, weapons that could vaporize entire cities with a single shot, and warriors who could crush anything in their path. The media exploded with tension as news outlets speculated what this would mean for the future of humanity. Would Earth survive? Would they have to bow down to this empire or face total annihilation? 2 weeks passed in a flurry of military readiness and diplomatic wrangling. Then, the Empire's first fleet appeared in the sky. It was massive. Gigantic warships, each larger than Earth's moon, slowly descended upon the planet, blocking out the stars. Humanity watched from the surface, awestruck and trembling. This was it. The day they would either be crushed under the heel of an unstoppable force, or they would go down fighting. The first ship to land was an absolute behemoth. Its dark, imposing form dwarfed every human building as it hovered ominously above a deserted field in the middle of North America. The ground shook as massive doors on the ship's belly opened, revealing a ramp. A figure in elaborate armor descended. The media camera zoomed in on the mysterious figure as it strode down the ramp, flanked by 2 imposing guards. The audience held its collective breath. This was the moment. The leader of the Galactic Empire had come to deliver their ultimatum. The figure raised its hands. People of Earth, the figure's deep, authoritative voice boomed. I am Lord Xero of the Galactic Empire. We have arrived to bring your world into our fold. Surrender now, and we will spare your people from annihilation. Resist, and you will face our wrath. The cameras captured every moment as the world waited, terrified, for humanity's fate to be decided. The world's leaders stood in grim silence, unsure of how to respond. But then something unexpected happened. A small group of humans in the crowd, mostly from a local comedy club that had gathered to watch the spectacle, couldn't hold it in any longer. One of them, who had been particularly stressed out about the situation, let out a loud, uncontrollable laugh. And that was all it took. The laughter spread like wildfire. The tension in the air dissolved as humans across the globe burst into laughter. It wasn't nervous laughter. It was something else. The absurdity of it all hit them at once. The mighty Galactic Empire had arrived, and their leader looked ridiculous. Lord Xero, who had been expecting a terrified world, stood there in shock, blinking under the sudden onslaught of human humor. His perfectly sculpted armor, which he had believed to be the most imposing in the galaxy, suddenly seemed comical. It was shiny, overly embellished, and resembled something out of a cheap costume store rather than the attire of a feared conqueror. The guards behind him, who had looked terrifying when they first appeared, were now revealed to be, in reality, poorly made robots with visible wires hanging out of their joints. Even their movements were jerky and unconvincing, further diminishing the grandiosity of the Empire's entrance. Xero's deep voice, which had once seemed imposing, cracked as he tried to regain control of the situation. What is this? Why are you laughing? But humanity, in all its strange glory, didn't stop. The laughter only grew louder. Even the military personnel, who had prepared for war, found themselves doubled over in hysterics. The sheer absurdity of the situation overwhelmed them. This can't be real. Someone shouted from the crowd. This is like a bad space opera. The media broadcasted the scene across the globe, and the world saw something that no one had expected. The terrifying Galactic Empire had arrived, and humanity wasn't afraid. They were laughing. Lord Xero, visibly flustered, tried to regain his composure. This is no laughing matter. I am the lord of an empire that spans countless worlds. You will submit. Yeah, whatever, one man in the crowd shouted. But tell me, how do you keep your armor so shiny? Must be a great polish. His voice cracked with laughter, and the crowd exploded once more. The laughter only grew as more humans in the crowd began making jokes about the absurdity of the entire situation. A woman even suggested that X-Zero try a new hairstyle, as his helmet was giving him a very early 2000s villain vibe. The whole crowd burst into guffaws. Finally, X-Zero snapped. Enough! I will show you the power of the Galactic Empire. He raised his hand dramatically, preparing to unleash what he thought would be his final, most terrifying threat. But instead, he accidentally triggered his armor's internal system, which launched a burst of confetti all over him. It sparkled in the sunlight, making him look like a fool. The human laughter erupted like a tidal wave. X-Zero stood there, drenched in confetti, his expression frozen in disbelief. He had expected to come to Earth as a conqueror, but instead, he had become the punchline to a cosmic joke. The broadcast switched back to Earth's leaders, who could barely contain their own amusement. Looks like the Galactic Empire could use a little more training, one leader chuckled. And so, the world watched as humanity, faced with the most powerful empire in the galaxy, did the one thing that no one expected. They laughed at the pomp and circumstance, the terrifying fate, and the absurdity of it all. Humanity, once thought to be insignificant in the grand scheme of the galaxy, had shown that their true strength was not in their military might or technology, but in their unbreakable spirit and sense of humor. The Galactic Empire had come to conquer. Instead, they had become the galaxy's latest punchline. And for humanity, that was a victory in itself.